hopping on. Can you introduce yourself? What grade Kyle was in, what position,
Yep.
and tell us, where he committed to.
Yep. Sorry. So my name is Jeff Wenckus. My son is Kyle Wenckus. Kyle's been involved with the Sparber program, headed by yourself, of course. Kyle's played at a very high level most of his life. Since he was 9 years old, he was in North Carolina in the USA, part of the USA program and all that good stuff, the USA Futures teams and all that. And he's always been technically a two-way, but really more known for his pitching, as you know. Really, he's always outstanding or been more of an outstanding player from his pitching perspective. Of course, he had a downside, which I'll talk about real quick too, is after his freshman year, high school team, Passaic Hills won the state championship. He won as a freshman. He was a starter in their starting rotation, which was awesome. We thought everything was great, and went down to Georgia and ended up hurting himself and had Tommy John surgery, which took him out his entire sophomore year from a pitching perspective, but did really well, as you also know, from a hitting perspective, which just proved his two-way capability, which was great. Actually made first team All County as a hitter that year, then came back this last year, which was his junior year, got back on the mound again, and ended up being again first team All County. Had a great led the Big North Conference here in New Jersey in strikeouts for the regular season. We didn't get far in the playoffs, so can't count that. But yeah, he's been enjoying it, and then ultimately, as Chris knows, Chris has been a big part of our journey. This past July, we were in Boston. For a tournament, and Monmouth, who has been looking at him for a while, UMass was looking at him. I mean, Kyle's probably spoken to a lot of big schools, as you also know, but the transfer portal kind of ruined some of that. He was talking to JMU for a long time. He was talking to Duke for a while. He was talking to a lot of bigger schools, Boston College. But ultimately, because the transfer portal kind of slowed things down with all that good stuff, he ultimately was the big two players at the end for Kyle were UMass and Monmouth. And UMass, while they really rolled out the red carpet for Kyle, they just didn't have the athletic scholarship money that he could get into. So it was just academic only. And then Monmouth came in late with the help of Chris. And they also rolled out the red carpet, but they also gave a heck of a lot more funding from a athletic and an academic perspective. So it became essentially a no-brainer for us as a family, for Kyle to ultimately to accept that Monmouth offer, and that's where he's committed to.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was definitely a journey for sure.
Yeah.
You guys obviously we kind of took the reins when
Yep.
his junior year. But ultimately, what made you want to decide to work with us specifically? Like, there's a lot of stuff out there, but like with handling the recruiting process yourself, what made you want us or made you want us to work with you?
I think it was your guys' work ethic, especially last fall. I mean, I was on the phone probably out of a week, 6 days a week. And when Kyle was playing, we even had Maryland watching him. Like he was on the phone with the Maryland coaches, consistently watching him when he was in Georgia. How's he doing? Things of that nature. Richmond, big involvement, right? You guys were involved with Richmond too. There was so many schools that you guys were really grinding for Kyle. I mean, there's even some Florida teams. I think for a while there, right? We were talking to Southern Florida. We were talking about Southern Florida, and you guys there was interest there. I think it was the grind from your guys' perspective, in which you would call me and be like, "Hey, I got another school that's interested in Kyle. Can you jump on a call?" And that I thought was excellent, right? We didn't have to do anything. You guys were on top of it. Yeah, we were engaged, obviously, and Kyle was on the call on the phone with these folks and these coaches and things like that nature. But you guys were really, really grinding, especially last fall. I can't say enough about that. I mean, we were on constant, like we said, we were always on calls almost every day, exclusively talking about, hey, this school's interested, this school's interested, this school's interested. Can we talk to him? We were just, it was a whirlwind, and it was a good thing. It was a fun thing to be involved with. But
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean that's great. I mean, yeah, that was he got a lot of attention last fall, this fall, and even through his injury, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah,
that's something. It's always difficult to navigate when a player can't play. However,
right,
I feel like with Kyle and his caliber of player, I think it was easy for us almost to be able
yep,
to talk to coaches for him, regardless, right?
yep, 100%.
But so with us and like, what would you say are the strategy or the way that we did things made the most impact on Kyle's recruiting process?
So I think again, just the interaction that you guys have with other coaches. The other thing that you guys did, I thought was interesting, and this is more recent, meaning I think it was over like the early part of the summer, late spring. I really thought the concept of having Kyle go out onto X Twitter and reach out to these coaches that you guys compiled as a list, which I thought was great. You say, here's the schools that we think fit your profile right now. And this is when the portal was in full play too. So we kind
Right.
of toned it down a little bit. We weren't looking at those Clemsons and Texas A&Ms and all those bigger schools, obviously, because we kind of knew, right? It was like it's going to be really hard to go there. And if you do go there and somehow they do give you an offer, it could either be pulled or you're never going to see the field or any of that good stuff. So, but I thought the approach to, hey, Kyle, here's another thing we're going to do. And you gave us, again, you guys did all the legwork. You said, here's a list of, it must have been like over 60 schools and probably more. Your job, Kyle, is to reach out and we'll guide you along with the template to reach out to these coaches on X directly, DM them, don't email them, DM them. Hey, coach, here's my background. I'm really be interested in going to your school, and I thought that was really great, and that I thought that really worked. It didn't in the end. Ultimately, we ended up at a school that we probably didn't do that with, but I thought ultimately
Like,
that was a really good approach to, hey, don't just sit back and send emails. Let's go direct message and get in the guys' faces constantly.
right, right. And at that point, it was, yeah, I think it was like May or June,
Yeah, it was like early summer.
reaching out. Unfortunately, now for you guys, we actually go ahead and we send the email with the DMs for the players now. We go into their
Okay.
account and send them. So if
Yep.
that was the case, we'd be able to, completely run his Twitter.
Yeah. Right.
But I think it was effective, and I think it
Oh
really
yeah.
taught Kyle, like, regardless, he didn't go to a school that he DM'd, but you know, reaching out and showing like he's got interest in programs, I think it goes a long way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if you didn't work with us, what would you have relied on to pretty much like help you navigate this whole process and end up getting an offer?
Right, right. So as you know, we were part of a bigger club organization slash program, and they did have some folks there that were also working for us as well. So we probably would have relied on them. I don't know that we would have gotten the same results in the end ultimately, but we probably would have relied on them. Or maybe if we didn't have them or a program of that nature that has kind of some connections as well, I think we probably would have went with another program. Now, how that would have went, I have no idea. Meaning another recruiting program, of course. How that would have went, I'm not sure. But thankfully we didn't have to. So ultimately it worked out in the end for us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of players now they rely on like travel organizations and stuff like that. And they're
Yeah,
just players, right? There's just so
yeah,
many, and there's only like I feel like a limited amount of like connections somebody could possibly have, right?
right, right,
But if you were to talk to another parent or
right.
another player that was, maybe on the fence about, doing a recruiting service or like joining us, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, especially if they believe their son has the capability to become a D1 player or even D2, D3, it doesn't matter, right? It's a college level player in any capacity, basically. I would say to them, especially with what's happening now out there, and you know this better, and we've seen it. The transfer portal has changed things considerably, exponentially. Like I would say, and you probably agree, if this was like 4 years ago and we were dealing with Kyle, we sad as it is to say, he probably had a much bigger school than where he is. But because of the transfer portal and what's going on, I would say, especially if you believe in your son and you think he's going to make it and you think he's going to be has the capability to play at a college level again, whether it be D1, D2, it doesn't matter. I would say it would help to get engaged with some a firm such as yours, and really have someone who's done this before. Well, you've done it yourself personally as well, which is even better. You've played college baseball, you're playing college baseball, you've done it, so you know the ins and outs and the nuances of working with these coaches and dealing with these things and not just saying, hey, here's a kid, go look at them kind of thing. It's more really getting in front of these guys and getting them face to face, and saying, hey, you really need to see this kid and showing him video, showing him tape, all that good stuff. So I think it's really important, especially nowadays, to get involved with a program like a Sparber and things like that. I think it's so important. Again, unless of course, unless your son's throwing 102 miles an hour or something like that, and
Right.
hitting the ball like, and he's just already being noticed, or then that's very rare. But if that's the case, then no. But obviously, if not, and you think your son has the potential, I think again nowadays, especially, that you need to be part of a program like this, no matter what.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, my final real question here is, if there's anything else that you would want to, talk about with our program in general, anything about this process, like recruiting in general, like, floor is yours, whatever you have. If not,
Yeah, I will end with, and you know this too because we've seen it. Don't ever get discouraged. I mean, Kyle has spoken to his phone has head coach's phone numbers from east to west, and we've heard things like, "Hey, we love you. We want to see more of you," and then just crickets. And it happens all the time. Come out to our camp. We love you. Want to see you. Talking to coaches numerous times during the week. Come to our camp, or we're gonna come see you, and either they just don't make it out to see you, or again, you go to their camp and they, oh yeah, we loved you, we'll keep in touch with you. And I'm not gonna name the schools, but I can name a handful of schools off the top of my head in which we really thought Kyle was gonna be playing at. And it just turned into crickets after a while. So I guess my advice to anybody out there would just be, don't be discouraged. Don't think, oh my God, is my son not good enough? Or anything like that. Just stick with the plan, stick with the process. If you go with Chris and Sparber, he's going to do whatever he can for you, help you out as best he can. They're great. They worked with me. They helped us significantly. But yeah, that would be my advice to anyone. Is just because it's so easy. I spent numerous nights thinking, this is it, man. This is just give up. To myself, I would never tell my son this. I'm like, this isn't going to work. This is just not working. Every time we think he's going to get an offer, a really good offer at a really good school, it just disappeared. And
right.
you talk to other parents and you find it's not just you. It happens everywhere. It's not just, especially again, like we said, in today's environment, it's not. It's probably happening to a lot more parents than other parents who are getting those. It's just it's tough. It's tough out there.
It is. I mean, I feel like when you're in it and you're in high school and then every year passes by, it's just the pressure just builds
Yeah,
up for parents. every single year that passes by, it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I mean, I think personally, the best thing you can do is first relax, right? Like relax
Yeah.
and work out. And if you are able to self-identify, know what type of player that you are,
Right.
and only reach out to schools that meet that criteria,
Yep.
I promise most families will have a way better chance.
Yep. Yep,
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
And I can speak to that 100% too, because I can tell you again, when my son was a freshman and when my son was even a sophomore and things weren't as rough with it, we would have never thought about some of the schools that we spoke to, but then to your point, you start realizing, hey, maybe this is a good fit because, these bigger schools are really looking at more of the older players who have already been in JUCOs and all that stuff. Again, I keep using the term, but it's true with the transfer portal and, things of that nature. And even, it's not even just a transfer portal. Now you're getting transfer portal, not kids from just smaller schools. You're getting kids from bigger schools. We're seeing it all the time. Coaches are changing schools and they're taking everybody with them. So, you got Duke going to Virginia, whatever's happening out
Oh,
there, and Mississippi, Virginia going to Mississippi. They took all their players. So you're thinking, oh, I got a shot there. They're taking their guys, whether they're not even they're 26 commits, when they're 25 commits, or whether of course they're on the roster already, and that's happening. And you learn quick. I got humbled real quick, and I said, you know what? The goal for us now is D1, if we can. Fortunately, we did. But you'll see, like when he was younger, it was like, oh, he's going to go to Clemson, he's going to go to Duke, and you play in these tournaments when you're younger and you're 9, 10, 11, 12, and all that. And then you realize, oh, wait, it's not necessarily always the case. But to your point, you have to kind of work with what's in your realm, essentially.
honestly, like I would say that Power Four, Power Five, whatever it is now, right? Power Four,
Yeah, yeah, right.
whatever those schools are, it's like chasing the girl in the red dress, right? Like it's
Yep,
just everyone. That's all anybody wants. Is
right.
Power Five school, the big name schools, but like
Yep,
that's probably the most dangerous place you can go,
right.
unless you're like you go there, you stand out, and you're like a guy.
Superstar,
But
right.
you go watch the MLB games, and you look at where these people come from. It's like
Yep,
I didn't even know there was a school,
yep,
right?
yep.
The guy in the Yankees,
Yeah, he's pitching tonight, I think. Is he pitching tonight?
pitching tonight from
Yeah.
Northeastern,
Yeah,
Northwestern.
right, which is in the conference with Monmouth, CAA. I told Kyle that. I
Right.
said, look, CAA guy, he's starting Yankees pitcher in the playoffs. So, you can say
Right.
all you want. Oh, it's Monmouth. But it's the conference you're in, and you have no idea. Like you said, you don't know a lot of these guys.
Oh, Paul Skeens started Air Force, right?
Right,
I mean, you would have never thought this guy would be the best pitcher in the big leagues, pretty much.
right,
Like
right.
you just never know. And
Nope.
baseball, it's like if you got to find a place where you're going to go play,
Right. Exactly.
or you don't know if you're going to play, a chance to play,
Yep. Yep.
right?
That was a big thing too at Monmouth. They
Right.
promised Kyle right away, you'll be on the field for us right away. From what we can see, of course, you can't predict anything, but
Right.
and that was a big thing. That was a big thing versus going to a Virginia or going to an Alabama where, yeah, you might be on the roster, but you might be sitting on the bench for 2 or 3 years, and then you're miserable and you want to hit the transfer portal anyway. And then by that point, other schools are like, well, we don't have any tape on you because you've never played before in college. So it makes it a lot tougher for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, once again, I appreciate you hopping on with me,
Yeah, no problem.
talking about Kyle's journey and how everything, played out. And, from here on going forward, like we want to stay in communication, obviously.
Yep. Yep.
I text your wife all the time, right? We're
Yep.
texting forth
Yep.
about, baseball stuff. And I want that to remain the same. If you have any
Yep.
questions about anything going forward, let us know. And, more importantly, like we want to follow him through college, through
Yep.
signing day, everything like that.
Yep.
We make
Yep.
sure that we're, he's enjoying his time.